What is going on, everybody? As always, a huge thank you to everybody who clicked on the video. I greatly appreciate that, as always. Now, I'm pretty excited because today I'm going to be taking a look at something I've wanted to play for a very long time, and that is none other than Pokemon Super Gold and Super Silver 97 Reforged for the Game Boy Color. Now, real quickly, for those who don't know, these games are based on the 1997 Space World demos of Pokemon Gold and Silver, which are pretty different from the games we ended up getting today. They've got quite a bit of unique changes that I'm excited to take a look at. And for quite a while, these games were lost until 2018, where they were mysteriously published online and then later crafted into the games that we are taking a look at today. Now, there are two versions of this game floating around. There's, of course, the original 97 version, as well as the Reforged variant, which is what I'm going to be taking a look at today. And you can sort of think of the Reforged versions as the crystal versions of the game, you know, just maybe slightly better if you tend to lean towards those games being better. And then just in general, just slight graphical changes, just slight upgrades across the board. But generally speaking, they are essentially the same game. But before we jump into all of that, let's of course take a closer look at these cartridges here. There are quite a few cartridges of these floating around online. Some of them look cool, some of them don't. In my opinion, I thought these looked pretty badass, especially this silver and the black cartridge here. It just, I don't know, it looked pretty cool, but maybe that's just me. And I, of course, am a bit of a collector, so I do like to have cases with these. And when I originally bought these, there were not cases available, so I had to do a little bit of digging if I wanted to find some for myself. And in general, there really weren't that many cases out there. There weren't that many options. I'll set those there real quick. But I did find a few cases. Here we have our cases for Super Gold 97 and Super Silver 97 as well. And I mean, seriously, these cases, they just look so good. The design of them is awesome. I mean, look at Ho-Oh right here, just popping like absolutely crazy. Got all the chin badges up here. So yeah, this has, of course, some text about the game here. If you guys want to take a look at that, I'll, of course, be talking a little bit more about that later. And it is worth mentioning, these are the Reforged variants. I already said that earlier, but that means you cannot actually play on an original Game Boy. It's got to be a color or up, so definitely worth mentioning. But in general, though, these cases are looking pretty freaking awesome. I'm not going to lie. I'll set that there. Let's go ahead and take a look at silver here. It's going to be pretty much the exact same thing, but we've got Lugia instead. Everything's going to be branded in silver instead of gold, but other than that, everything should be the exact same. And of course, I think I need to say this every time, all of this Nintendo branding that we see here plastered throughout, not an official Nintendo game, just for the sake of looking cool and for the sake of, you know, looking official, but not actually official, so definitely worth mentioning. And of course, if we take a look inside, you can see this is definitely a custom-made case. I've got it from customgamecases.com. I'll be leaving a link to all of this down below, of course. I usually say that at the end of the video, but shout out, of course, to them for making this really awesome case. Very high quality. I mean, the game fits in there perfectly. And, of course, they got their own custom branding in there as well. I mean, it looks great. What can I say? All right, now that we've taken a look at these really awesome cases and cartridges, let's go ahead and pop this into the Game Boy and take a look. All right, here we are with Super Gold and Silver Reforged. Now, this game's story is pretty straightforward. Put simply, Team Rocket is at it again, and this time they're building some kind of machine. We don't know what, but they're building something. But more importantly, this game has Giovanni. He's actually here. He's not just chilling behind some waterfall waiting for a remake, so that's pretty cool. Now, one of the big differences between these and the original are, of course, the Pokémon, which we see right away with the starters. We've got two new starters this time. Now, I love Chikorita, I love all of the Johto starters, but I obviously have to go with something new, so who better than this Loch Ness monster looking thing? There were tons more as well. I'm not sure the exact number on how many were different from the final versions, but there's a huge variety of never-before-seen Pokémon. We had things like baby evolutions that got cut. There were a lot of those. New forms for existing Pokemon, just completely brand new Pokemon as well. And there were even a lot of Pokemon that we ended up getting looking pretty different as well, like Noctowl, for example. Same Pokemon we got, but honestly, this is a way cooler design. And it's not just the Pokemon that look different, the whole region got a makeover. Instead of the Johto that we all know and love, this time we're actually in the Nihon region? I hope I'm saying that right. But let me tell you, this is a really well-designed region, and I know I'm no professional, but I just had tons of fun going through all the new towns and new areas. There was like some new biomes too. There was like a desert biome in town that really popped. It really looked so good in these Gen 2 sprites. And there were just in general a lot of new and unique memorable areas to check out, as well as some familiar looking places as well. This is a demo after all, so not surprising that some of this stuff made it into the final versions. Also, the characters' new/alternate sprites looked so good. I really did not think they could make Faulkner look any cooler than he already was, but just take a look. Certified badass. Speaking of the gym leaders, that's of course one of my favorite parts of any Pokemon game, and Faulkner is not the only one with upgrades. Take a look at Bugsy. Hubba hubba, am I right? He got quite the glow up. And if you were wondering, yes, health still exists in this game. There are, however, several new gym leaders this time around, so we get another glimpse into what could have been, and one of those that sticks out to me was the Dark-type gym, which, for those who don't know, prior to Sword and Shield, we actually didn't have any Dark-type gym leaders, so we were so close to getting one so much earlier, but instead they gave us Karen, which is fine, I guess. And the last gym that I want to mention is actually none other than Red himself. Maybe a bit of a downgrade from his Mount Silver final counterpart, but it was still pretty cool seeing Red as a gym leader, I won't lie. They actually shrunk down the entire Kanto region to one giant, yet still small town. You know, it's got a lot of the famous areas from Kanto that you'll recognize, like Silphco and a few town areas, Diglett Cave, you know, things like that. So obviously not the full Kanto experience that we ended up getting, but still really fun seeing them shrink it all down. Now, I hope you all weren't too attached to Will, because the Elite Four is sporting a few differences in these games. No more Will, but instead Lorelei is actually still in the Elite Four in this game, rocking her signature Ice type. And then to my surprise, Giovanni is actually taking one last stand for Team Rocket in the Elite Four, before we finally make it to the OG champion Lance, who is pretty much an exact carbon copy of what we got in the end. So we beat the Elite Four, and now what? You just said earlier that Kanto was one town, so obviously we're not hopping on a boat and heading there. And you're right, there is no Kanto postgame, which was a shiny feature of the Gen 2 games. Instead, though, we have something that might actually be cooler. Once you beat the Elite Four, you gain access to the Southwest Islands, which essentially acts as the second region for the postgame. And I don't want to spoil too much of the postgame, but it was really neat. It kind of gave me Orange Island vibes. And it actually has some semblance of a story there, rather than just blindly fighting another 8 gyms, so it definitely offers a more unique experience than what we ended up getting, and I definitely think you guys should experience that for yourself, so I won't say too much after that. The last thing I want to talk about are the typings in this game. I didn't really come across any bugs or glitches that I can recall, besides the types displaying incorrectly. You might have picked up on that throughout the video, I'm not sure, but for some reason most of the moves show up wrong, like Slash being an ice type, or Surf being a grass type, and so on. Even though they display wrong, they still work the way they're supposed to, like Surf is still super effective against fire types and things like that, so they should all work right. There are, though, a few changes to the type effectiveness that did have me scratching my head a little bit, and I didn't realize what was going on and had to look it up to be for sure, but things like Normal and Dark being super effective against dark types, or Electricity being super effective against steel types, things like that. I was definitely tripped up, but I figured it out. Other than that, though, I didn't notice any other glitches in the games. Obviously, they save, which that is, of course, the most important thing, and I've put probably about 40 hours or so into it, and it holds up well. So, all in all, I had a ton of fun with these games and cartridges. You know, I was honestly surprised by how well they ended up working and how well I liked them. I knew I was gonna like them, but I'm walking away thinking that they might have been better. I know that's crazy. I love the Gen 2 games, but these were excellent hacks. Now, before I end the video, I want to give a massive shout out to the people who brought these hacks to life from the demo. So, huge thank you to Level 3 and Rule. I believe Level 3 was the one who created the first Super Gold 97 hack, and then I believe Rule was the one who created the Reforged variant. So, huge thank you to both of you for bringing these hacks to life and making them available for everybody to play. So I definitely recommend, I highly recommend, I can't recommend enough that you guys check these hacks out. They are phenomenal. Some of the best Gen 2 hacks out there. There's seriously so much that I wasn't able to put in this video, like Gym Leader rematches, for example. I don't think I mentioned that yet, but there's just so much that these games have to offer. I don't think you'll be disappointed. And if you like them enough, you might consider getting them physically like I did. I'll be leaving a link to all of this down below as always. But until next time, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to leave a like, and if you have any other comments or questions or any ideas for what I should do next, feel free to leave those down below. But until next time, I'll see you later.